covering sports for 30 years. It's one thing for an exhibition here, there, whatever. But you can't continue to be allowed to build a career without getting into the ring with fighters. And if I remember correctly, correct me if I'm wrong, Shannon.
But does ultimately boxing get damaged?
Well, I think so. But I think boxing damages itself left, right and centre. But I think the reputability and the credibility of some of these boxing sanctioning bodies is poor anyway.
Nobody can knock him for this. This is now business. This is business. For Jake Paul, absolutely crazy. Jake Paul is a domestic level professional fighter here in the UK.
Stephen Smith lashes out at the announcement, saying Jake Paul has never approached boxing with the seriousness the sport demands. He argues that Jake's career has been built on exhibitions and opponents who were not real tests, including retired fighters and people far past their competitive years. Smith says this pattern disrespects boxing and that the matchup with Anthony Joshua shows how badly the sport is being treated.
He can't continue to get away with stepping into the ring against strikers for the UFC, basketball players, unknown boxers.
Simon Jordan expresses serious concern over the Anthony Joshua versus Jake Paul matchup, arguing that the situation highlights many issues within modern boxing. He points out that business interests have taken a front seat over the integrity of the sport, making fighters and promoters prioritize publicity and paydays instead of genuine competition. Jordan emphasizes that when boxing becomes a platform for spectacle rather than skill, it risks losing the respect it has built over decades. He warns fans and insiders alike to recognize that such matchups, while profitable, can set dangerous precedents for young fighters and the wider perception of the sport. Jordan further stresses that this fight exemplifies a troubling trend in which financial incentives outweigh the athletic challenge. He believes that the fight is more about headlines, social media engagement, and ticket sales than genuine sporting competition. According to Jordan, using a superstar like Anthony Joshua to boost the profile of someone who has not faced serious opposition undermines the credibility of professional boxing. He argues that turning a championship-level athlete into a prop in a commercialized event diminishes the accomplishments of those who have truly dedicated their lives to the sport.
But this, to me, is everything that's wrong with boxing. It's a money play, nothing wrong. I don't begrudge Anthony Joshua getting 50 million quid for an easy night's work. That's fantastic returns. Most people would take it. But from the boxing world, Jake Paul is now a professional fighter. Whether we categorise him as a YouTuber or not, he's licensed to fight, which means that the governing body should be suggesting that this is not a fight that possibly they should be looking to sanction.
Yeah.
But they will, because the sanctioning fees will be enormous. Anthony Joshua will not lose his legacy like some people are suggesting, because no one will remember it in 2 or 3 years' time. If he embarrasses himself in there, they'll remember it. If he goes in and knocks him out in 30 seconds flat, or turns it into a little bit more of a sort of Jake LaMotta raging bull, holding him up for a few rounds and then knocking him out, then people will forgive it. He'll get a big bag of money, which most people in the world would take, and move on. And then we'll see if he fights anybody meaningful in the year. I mean, it is like sport has become. And what I got my head around on Saturday night was the entertainment value of Conor Benn and Chris Eubank. The fighting of itself, I could be all pious about it, but the entertainment industry is so prevalent in sport now. This is entertainment. This is going to have hundreds of millions of people watching it. Of course. And Anthony Joshua gets paid, and Jake Paul hopefully gets flattened.
Simon, I know the money's there, but does ultimately boxing get damaged?
Well, I think so. But I think boxing damages itself left, right and centre. But I think the reputability and the credibility of some of these boxing sanctioning bodies is poor anyway. But I think it does get damaged.
Even if it's an exhibition fight, which it might well be.
Well, then what's the jeopardy in that? If it's an exhibition fight, which it shouldn't be, if it's a proper fight, then Jake Paul is going to get demolished.
Johnny Nelson weighs in, describing the matchup as absolutely crazy and genuinely risky. He highlights that this is not a typical crossover fight. This is a real contest with significant stakes and physical danger. Nelson admires Jake Paul's bravery, but questions the wisdom of stepping into the ring with a proven heavyweight champion. He notes that the shock factor comes from the seriousness of the fight itself. This is not an exhibition, and the consequences of a misstep are real. Nelson's reaction captures the tension between curiosity, excitement, and concern in the boxing community. Nelson continues by reflecting on the unique nature of Jake Paul as a competitor. While Paul has demonstrated skill and confidence in his previous bouts, Nelson stresses that his opponents were not on the level of Joshua. He sees Jake's courage as remarkable, but simultaneously alarming given the potential danger inherent in facing a world-class heavyweight.
Because of Anthony Joshua's desire to be in the history books, to be a 3-time heavyweight champion of the world. To me, it shows me his desire. Pick up 50 million along the way. Nobody can knock him for this. This is now business. This is business. For Jake Paul, absolutely crazy. Jake Paul is a domestic level professional fighter here in the UK. Would he win a British title? No, I don't think so. So now they're putting this domestic level fighter in with a former heavyweight 2-time champion of the world. The weight is 245. So I think the last time Anthony Joshua weighed around that, it was when he boxed Usyk. That means he's got to be fight fit on point, because his last fight he was 18 stone. I think it was 254 against Danny Dubois. So now he's basically saying you've got to get yourself in position, get yourself fit, and get yourself ready for fight. It's not tiddlywinks. This is a fight. It's not a push and a pull. So as long as it's not a push and a pull, and don't put me down and don't touch me in the build up to this fight. You know, I remember when McGregor and Mayweather, they had this little side deal, don't touch me in the build up to this. If this is a real, legitimate fight, Jake Paul is absolutely crazy. If not crazy, he's super brave. And it'll be interesting to see.
Well, what do you think? Yeah, because you said that before when we spoke about it being a proper fight or not. And Eddie Hearn and Paul's promoter, Nakisa Badarin, have both said in the last couple of days it will be a proper fight. And now you've heard the details. 8 rounds, 3 minutes around, 10-ounce gloves. Do you believe it when they say that it's going to be a proper fight?
I do believe it because AJ's involved, and I think AJ'd struggle to. He's going to take enough flack over this, but again, it's money talk. So I think AJ will struggle because it's an Owen situation. If he goes in there, Jake Paul lasts the distance. What does he tell you about AJ? Apart from he's just earned an extra 15 million quid. If he goes there and struggles with Jake Paul, then what do you say about AJ? Your heydays are well and truly over. If he goes in there and knocks him out, then I'll say that's to be expected. So the glory, there's probably not much glory in it, apart from the haters of Jake Paul to say, right, I've got rid of this kid. I think it's very brave of Jake Paul. So now the problem child has got to believe this fight's actually happening. So now
Tony Jeff offers a pragmatic view, noting that anything can happen in boxing. He emphasizes that training, preparation, and mindset can sometimes level the playing field, even when there is a clear difference in experience or age. Jeff points out that Jake is younger than Joshua, which could give him an advantage in terms of stamina and recovery. But he admits that Paul is not yet at Joshua's technical level. Still, Jeff acknowledges that Jake has improved significantly and that with the right strategy and dedication, unexpected outcomes remain possible, reflecting boxing's unpredictable nature. Jeffer also highlights Jake Paul's work ethic, remarking that the fighter has shown remarkable dedication in preparing for higher-level opponents. He stresses that while Paul's skill does not match Joshua's, his commitment to training and learning cannot be ignored. Jeffrey suggests that the gap between the two is narrower than some critics might claim, noting that discipline, preparation, and mental focus can mitigate physical disparities. This perspective adds nuance to the debate, acknowledging Paul's progress while maintaining realism about the inherent challenge he faces.
He's prime. Where Anthony Joshua, on the other hand, is, but I'm not going to say he's coming into his prime because he had some great wins earlier on in his career before he lost to Usyk twice. And by the way, when he did lose to Usyk, the last one was a split decision. It was a pretty close fight. So now this fight is matched, and I just want to look at the tail of the tape. Now looking at the age difference, we've got 28 years old compared to 36 years old. So I guess the advantage there goes a little bit towards Jake Paul. 28-year-old is better than a 36-year-old. But that being said, we've got talking about experience and everything else, what comes with being 36 years old at Anthony Joshua's level. And then, like I mentioned, the heavyweights kind of seem to prime a little bit older. Now, come down to the height and the weight. This is the big one. 6'1" versus 6'6". 200 pound versus 252 pound. We got a 252 pounder in Anthony Joshua. The reach advantage is a lot, which we would expect. Amateur fights, we can see that Jake's only had one, where AJ's had 43, but 43 of them are included at the highest level, Olympic level. And yes, he won the Olympic bloody gold medal, if I don't need to remind you. Then the pro record, Jake Paul has had 13 fights, lost 1. AJ has had 28 fights and he's lost 4 with 25 KOs. And the one person that Jake Paul lost to was Tommy Fury. Now, can we compare Tommy Fury with Anthony Joshua? Not at all. It's like night and day. So now I'm going to talk about the rules of this fight, and I'll give you my prediction, which is going to shock a lot of people after this. So, what are the rules? The bout will take place at a heavyweight, obviously. It's going to be 8 3-minute rounds. You might think, well, that's better for Jake Paul.
Chael Sonnen comments that Jake Paul's critics will finally witness the level of competition he faces when stepping into the ring with a legitimate professional. Sonnen observes that the matchup will expose whether Paul's previous success has been inflated by carefully chosen opponents or if he truly belongs in serious competitive boxing. He believes this fight will serve as a reality check, offering clarity to fans, pundits, and the boxing world at large. Sonnen frames the event as a pivotal moment for assessing the legitimacy of Paul's career and the broader impact on perceptions of crossover boxing. Sonnen elaborates that this matchup is a significant test not just for Jake Paul, but for public perception of the sport. He stresses that facing a world-class heavyweight will finally place Paul under scrutiny from experienced boxing analysts and seasoned fighters. The attention will reveal whether Paul's previous victories reflect skill or simply the lower caliber of his earlier opponents. Sonnen suggests that the scrutiny will benefit the sport by reinforcing standards and expectations for those claiming professional credibility, ensuring that public debates are grounded in genuine performance rather than marketing narratives.